My parents forced me into experimental drug trials to fund my brother's cancer treatment. Now my brother's gone, and I have permanent organ damage. I take 17 pills every morning just to keep my kidneys functioning at 30% capacity. My liver is so scarred that alcohol would probably kill me. Not that I can afford to find out. I'm 26 years old, and I've already been on a transplant waiting list for 2 years. The irony isn't lost on me that I spent my childhood as a human test subject so my brother could live, and now I'm the one waiting for organs. But Ethan died anyway when he was 15 and I was 13, so I guess we both lost. Except I'm still here, swallowing pills that cost more than my rent, living with the consequences of decisions I never made. My parents made 6 figures off my body over 7 years. They spent it on experimental treatments for Ethan that insurance wouldn't cover, on trips to specialists in other countries, on alternative therapies that promised miracles, and on themselves, new cars, home renovations, a boat. Yeah, a boat. While I was in phase 1, trials for drugs that hadn't been tested on humans yet, my dad bought a fishing boat because he needed to relax from the stress. I didn't understand what was happening when it started. I was 6 years old. Ethan had just been diagnosed with neuroblastoma, a cancer that mostly hits kids. He was 8. One day we were playing video games in his room, and the next day he was in the hospital getting scans and biopsies and chemo. Our lives changed overnight. My mom quit her job to take care of him. My dad's insurance covered some of the treatment, but not the cutting-edge stuff, not the experimental protocols that might actually save Ethan's life. That's when my parents discovered that pharmaceutical companies pay for clinical trial participants. Not just pay, but pay well, especially for pediatric trials since it's harder to recruit kids. They started searching for trials I could join. Healthy children were actually more valuable than sick ones for certain types of studies. They needed baseline data, control groups, safety testing on developing bodies. I was perfect, young, healthy, and my parents were desperate enough to sign anything. The first trial was for an allergy medication. It seemed harmless enough, or at least that's what I told myself years later when I was trying to understand how it all started. Twice a week after school, my mom would drive me to a research facility about 40 minutes from our house. It was in a newer office building with a waiting room that had toys and a TV playing cartoons. They'd take my blood pressure and temperature, ask me questions about how I felt, then give me a little cup with a pill in it. Sometimes it was pink, sometimes white. I never knew which was the real drug and which was the placebo. They told me I might get a stuffy nose or feel tired. The compensation was $3,000 for a 3-month study. My parents signed the consent forms and deposited the checks. I got to pick out a toy from the dollar store afterward if I didn't cry when they drew blood. That was my payment. A $3 action figure for helping fund my brother's cancer treatment. Not that I understood that's what was happening. Ethan's treatment was brutal. He lost his hair within weeks. He couldn't keep food down. He missed months of school. I remember sitting in his hospital room doing homework while he slept, watching the poison drip into his veins through an IV, hoping it was killing the cancer faster than it was killing him. My parents were constantly stressed about money. Even with insurance, the copays and deductibles were crushing. The experimental treatments they wanted to try weren't covered at all. One therapy cost $40,000 per round, and Ethan needed multiple rounds. My dad took a second job working nights at a warehouse. My mom was always on the phone with billing departments, insurance companies, and pharmaceutical companies running clinical trials. I heard her in the kitchen late at night, crying about numbers I couldn't comprehend. And then she'd come to my room, turn on the light, and tell me about a new trial she'd found. This one paid $5,000. That one paid $7,000. Would I be willing to help my brother? Would I be a good kid and do this for our family? What was I supposed to say? No? I was 7 years old watching my brother die. That's when I made the biggest mistake of my life. Full story is linked below or on my channel.